an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Crazy Ex-Girlfriend Season 2, Episode 6. Who needs Josh when you have a girl group? In this episode, you guys, I don't want to talk about this one. I don't want to do it. Can we just skip it? Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Megan for commissioning this episode. But Megan, I'm hoping that you will show up and just be like, yeah, skip it. Because this episode was just a torment. Oh, God. Like, okay, so every episode deals in a certain amount of secondhand embarrassment, cringe humor type stuff. And I'm not big into cringe humor. Like, it's part of why I found the early episodes of The Office so hard to get into. Later on, they go for just like kind of situational humor. But in the first seasons, it's relying on the scripts from Britain. And those were incredibly uncomfortable moments. Similarly, why I didn't really get into, oh my God, the Larry David show. But this episode leans way more on it than it normally does, this show. And it's not just that the episode is leaning on it. It's that we have gotten to know these characters well enough now that this cringe humor is made much more effective because of that. So it was just, and you know, it's people that I like, who I want to get along, who I want to have a good relationship, butting heads and having really understandable fights in which I don't want to say you don't know who's right, because the truth is, I think both Rebecca and Paula are right. I think it would be really, really easy to say that just Paula is right. Because, you know, it's just been kind of something that she's been talking about with her new friend, whose name I forgot, forgive me, about, you know, Rebecca being kind of me. So I think that can happen where you've like talked over something. Sunil, thank you people in the chat. Megan is here. Hi, Erica. I think that, and you guys will probably know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're in a relationship, whether it's a friend relationship or a romantic relationship, and you have another person that you're talking to about that relationship, you may have something pent up that you haven't talked about before, and you bring it up with this person, and they're kind of like, well, wow, it really sounds like XYZ is going on. And you're suddenly like, yeah, it does sound like that. And the more you talk about it, the more sort of zeroed in you get, until you begin to obsess and think that's all your relationship is this like one problem. And it's understandable how that can happen. And I don't think talking to friends is a bad thing, but I feel like it can be really easy to obsess over a piece of information that has just become clear to you at the expense of the reality of the rest of your relationship. Now, this is not to say that there aren't circumstances in which you'll be telling maybe somebody about some behavior and they're like, wow, it sounds like your boyfriend's abusive. You need to get out. And all of a sudden, all you see is that he's abusive. That's different. You know, get out. But when it's something like this, where there's like, I want to say like a personality flaw, and you begin to feel like everything in your relationship revolves around that one personality flaw, maybe it does. Maybe that's fair, but I don't think that's entirely true with Paula and Rebecca. Paula, I said this last episode, is not good at asking for or accepting help. Her husband gives her like a lot of advice that just is, why don't you talk to Rebecca about it? And she constantly comes up with reasons why she shouldn't, because she doesn't want to burden Rebecca. And granted, in person, there are moments where we do see that it would not be a good time for her to bring this up, because Rebecca has literally been made into like this terrible like video meme where she's, you know, calling out 911 and pooping in her own backyard. Sure. But then there's moments where they're sitting on the couch together and Rebecca says, you don't know what it's like to be at a crossroads and not know what to do next. And Paula just says, you're right, honey, I don't know. And it's like a perfect moment for her to be like, actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Paula has the opportunity. And just because she feels it's not the right time to bring it up because she doesn't want to, quote, burden Rebecca with it, that doesn't mean that's how Rebecca sees it. And in this episode, when Rebecca says, I specifically asked you what was going on, and Paula says, yeah, but you didn't mean it. I just want to be like, what does it look like when she does mean it? Because I don't really know what more you want from her. Like, she comes to your house, she sits on your bed, she asks you what's going on, you immediately make it clear it's something you don't want to talk about and change the subject. I don't know what you thought she could do, because if she pushes you, it has to feel to her in the moment that something kind of, you know, personal that you don't want to talk about has happened, and that you're changing the subject because you're uncomfortable. So if I were Rebecca, I wouldn't want to press, because I would feel like I'm invading her privacy, you know? And I don't know if I'm the only one reading that scene that way, but I just don't really know what else Paula was looking for there. What does she want from Rebecca that would prove Rebecca cares and wants to know things about her? Does she want Rebecca to like sit down, turn off both their cell phones and, you know, just like lock them in a room together and just be like, okay, unload, or else you don't get to leave? I mean, a friend shouldn't have to push this hard for you to confide in them. That's on you a little bit. So I really understand where Paul is coming from, and I'm not trying to say that Rebecca isn't a taker kind of friend. She is. Absolutely. But Paula has chosen a taker friend because she's not good at taking herself, and that's what we do as people. We choose friendships that make us comfortable, that have a dynamic that's familiar, that we like. And Paula is a giver in all of her life, and she chose a friendship in which she was also a giver. Because that, I think, gives her a bit of a sense of control in her way. I mean, you know, she has this moment in the beginning of the season where she's screaming at Rebecca, like, you don't know all the things that I've done for you and all the things that you never asked for. And it's clear how much resentment she has over these things that she did that Rebecca doesn't appreciate. How could she when you never told her? You know, like it's just that classic expecting somebody to read your mind kind of situation, that it's a cliche, but there's a root of truth in that. She can't appreciate what you've done for her if you didn't tell her that you did it. So how did you think this was going to go? Did you think that she would one day be musing in front of you like, oh, it's really weird how all of the timing on all these different things worked out. It's almost as if, oh, Paula, were you orchestrating? She think that Rebecca was going to come to the conclusion on her own that Paula had like fucking put a GPS tracker on Josh's mom's car? Is that how she thought this was going to go? Because honestly, I understand I understand what happens here. I understand that she has not felt comfortable telling Rebecca how she really feels about the dynamic of their relationship. I get not quite being there and not being close enough anymore even for it to be a easy thing to bring into the conversation. That's the awful thing about sort of growing apart, is you often grow apart because you've been hurt by something the other person did. And in growing apart, you then preclude ever actually having the conversation about how you were hurt. And yet I don't get the sense that she was ever planning on really having this conversation with Rebecca. We'll talk about it when we get there. But I just wanted to give an overall impression of what's going on there. So, all right. We start off the episode because like this whole thing is about the girl group. And I expected the opening scene because there's this girl that feels very Heathery. I expected this opening scene to be something that had like a new place that Heather's working, because, you know, we've had this like running joke about both Heather and Rebecca's doctor, psychiatrist wanting to buy kayaks. But, instead it turns out that we have a return of Trent, and he is buying all of this gear in order to pretend that he is a surfer dude. I'm really excited for the return of Trent. I don't know if it's going to continue beyond this episode, but I am really enjoying getting to see what it looks like from the other end of things when a dude engages in the behavior that Rebecca does. And it would have been very easy for Trent to just be the typical creepy stalker guy, which a lot of women have encountered in their lives. But instead, they managed to make it funny because of him just trying to be part of the actual group of friends of hers rather than individually trying to like get at her. So because of that, it's more him like being a spy in this weird way. And I'm just really here for the whole way this winds up working out. And I appreciated that in the end, Rebecca's just like, you know what? I'm going to sleep with you because, you know, you put in a lot of work. You're a pretty good looking guy. I'm kind of sad. Why don't we just... And I was like, no, this makes sense. This feels right to me. Erica says, the last thing I remember is talking about the tracking device on Josh's mom's car. Oh my God, you guys lost me ages ago then. I'm sorry, I'm not going back that far. But it's going to be in the recording. So if you really want to know, listen to the recording. Sorry, guys. People listening, Crowdcast cut out because I guess I lost internet again. I don't know what's going on with my internet, guys, but it's been really spotty and it's frustrating the hell out of me. So, okay, Trent is getting all of his gear together and he winds up like creating this run-in with Josh and befriending Josh in an effort to get in with Rebecca's friend group, because he does not realize yet, I don't think, just how disconnected Rebecca is from this crew by now. Rebecca is not hanging out with anybody from Josh's friend group anymore. And it's just like, you know, an attempt that is several episodes behind here. I really wonder what would have happened. Like, Trent, I'm assuming, got notified that, like, Rebecca was single, but I don't know that she was ever public about the fact that she and Josh were dating. So I don't know if he was even aware she was involved with Josh. And I'm wondering if she, like, if he had tried to befriend Josh in this scene and then found out Josh was staying at Rebecca's place, I would like to know what it is that he would have done, how he would have handled that situation. But, you know, whatever. So we have the crew, Josh's crew, coming to, what's this place called again? It's not Home Run. It's not Last Call. Home Base. Thank you, Erica. He said he hacked her texts, I think. Right. So I guess he did know that they had been involved. But wouldn't he know then that she's like getting in with Josh is not going to help his case? That's an odd method to use. And they're trying to get into Home Base, and it turns out that finals week is upon them. And Kevin, who runs the bar, is putting in place a cover charge, which is never a thing. And they're all just like, dude, come on, really? And he's like, guys, seriously, it's only $5. If you can't afford it, please just go. I really like how sad he is to turn them away when they're like people that he's pretty friendly with. And he obviously feels like a bit of weakness towards, and he knows that if they keep begging, he's going to let them come in. And he looks like he's going to cry. I can't stand seeing the sadness in your eyes. It hurts my heart. But yeah, so they don't have the normal hang like that they could, which is what leads to them wanting to get together with Weirdo Trent, because they need somebody to foot the bill because none of them really want to pay for this. Wait, what? Erica says it was $50 for the bar and $150 for a table? What? Was it really? God damn. I do not remember that. Okay, I'm playing. Sorry, guys. It's finals. New policy. $150 for a table, $50 for the bar. It's like Vegas, models and bottles. Oh my God. I did not remember that. That's crazy. What is he doing? That's insane. He can charge, and there are people in there. There are people in there paying that for this place. Are you kidding me? Good God. All right. But yeah, they wind up going away. And then we cut to, Rebecca and are they at Home Base? Yeah. Heather hooked us up. I thought he was talking about finals, like finals at college, like finals week. Everybody's drinking because it's time for finals. I'm realizing now that's likely not what he meant, right? I don't think that's what he meant. Oopsies, I got that very wrong. Erica says NBA. I don't know about sports, LOL. Same. Hashtag exactly what Erica said. So yeah, they got this table because of Heather. And I really love that Rebecca says, when I disarm the whole security system, it's like the back door unlocks with the front. Know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, girl, I appreciate very much that Valencia, in a pretty unjudgmental way, says, you talk about pooping a lot. And I was like, yeah, you definitely do. I need to mention, because, you know, it's a commonly like understood fact that Valencia is super duper hot. But this dress she's wearing in this episode, damn, does this girl wear this dress? Holy shit. Oh, God. I frequently, like, when I think about, like, the ideal body that I would like to have, Valencia is a little too thin. Like, I am interested in being more round and muscular than what Valencia looks like. But this dress makes me, like, rethink all of that. I'm like, oh, my God, girl, what did you do to, like, wear this dress like this. It's a simple one. And she just like, it's a knockout dress on her. Christ's sakes. So I like this moment because Rebecca straight up says, I have really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. And I think that we can just say that we're a squad now, right? And I like that she is outright with this, because I was worried about the, like, when it says girl squad, and the beginning of the episode or the title, that it was going to be Rebecca trying to like force a thing that wasn't happening totally organically. And I mean, like most of what Rebecca does. And it does turn into that later with poor Paula. But I was happy to see that at least with Heather and Valencia, it's actually turning into a genuine group of friends that do feel this way about one another. And I really like that they are able to be this straightforward with the fact that they like hanging out and that they consider this to be like a new little clique that they have. Because I feel like if you're not on the same page with that sort of thing, you can have a bit of an unwelcome surprise when you start to like assume that so-and-so is also invited every time we do XYZ. And then it turns out, oh, well, I didn't really think that we were hanging out with them all the time. I thought that they came to that party and that was fun, but I didn't think we were always going to be asking them to do everything, you know, that kind of thing. I thought that maybe Heather wasn't going to want Valencia involved as much. Or what if Heather and Valencia got along better than they did with Rebecca, and they started to like weirdly exclude her? Who knows? And that could still happen. But Heather is also glad that they have a girl group, and she mentions how she's a really direct communicator, and that studies have shown that women are indirect communicators, and that it's something that she has struggled with. So having female friends when she's so direct hasn't really like worked out for her. This is something that I have run into also, and as I get older, it's less of a problem because a lot of women become more direct communicators as they get older because they start to not give a shit anymore. I think women are indirect communicators due to society making it clear that our voices are not to be heard. So we find indirect ways to communicate so that we can get around those parameters. And I think when we're younger, we don't really know how to make our voices heard well. And then as we get older, we start to be like, oh, I just need to be kind of a bitch sometimes and be okay with that. And thus, we begin to give less of a shit about other people's opinions about our body. We begin to give less of a shit about people's opinions on our like life choices. And that's not to say we shed caring of what people think of us altogether, because Lord knows that is something I still work on constantly. But I think it becomes a little bit easier. So yeah, Valencia starts to talk to Heather about how her name isn't actually Valencia. Her name is actually Maria. And as she's saying this, first of all, I wondered, are they going to call her Maria from now on? But they don't. But then we cut to Friendtopia, and it becomes a Spice Girl-esque, like, girl group song. Guys, I will not lie to you. I was watching this with Owen. He didn't understand the Spice Girls thing. He like looked at me at one point and was like, what is this spoofing? Why are they British? And I was like, the Spice Girls? Hello? And he was like, they're British? I was like, yes! What? Like, I just completely was so blown away that he didn't know this. And like, you know, why would he? He was born in 1990, for fuck's sake. But I really had this, like, this moment of, who am I about to marry, you guys? This song is the best thing that has ever happened on this show. I love this so much. It's a girl group song, but about how they're actually going to take over the world, and not like, oh, it's so cute, we're going to run the world because we look really good and we have awesome dance moves and whatever. It's, we're going to storm the Pentagon, we're going to celebrate on the White House lawn, we're going to hang Congress. The whole thing is perfection from beginning to end. I love it. Stay together forever. Take control of the banks. Don't let a man come between us. If he does, we shoot him in the head. Guys, it's the best. The best. This is like 100% everything that I ever wanted. I didn't even know. This is probably taking first place for my favorite song in the entire show. It's just, they say zig-a-zow. Like, everything about it is just so good. And their British accents, they're all doing a British accent the entire time. Our Rain will be like Sweet Valley High meets 1984. I mean, does it get better? Does it? I just love it so much. And I love how perfect Heather is for Scary Spice. I mean, just all of this just works. It's utter perfection from beginning to end. I can't say enough good things about it. So, then we have the posting on Instagram with hashtag girl group forever. And we cut to the next day where Daryl is looking at the picture and saying, like, maybe people are feeling a little bit left out. What do you think? And he's saying this in front of, what is this girl's name that winds up teaming up with Daryl this episode? But guys, can I just say how much I love Maya? She is the best this episode. I adore that finally she just gets straight to the point with Daryl and is like, dude, what is your fucking problem? I just am so happy that she gets in his face. And I didn't think that was going to happen so soon. I thought it might eventually come to a head, but I kind of thought that it might be somebody else coming to her defense. And I'm really glad that it's her standing up for herself. It's really nice. And I like the fact that Daryl is immediately like, okay, yeah, that's fair. Like, he kind of pushes back for a second and she's like, no, this isn't teasing. This is bullying, because he tries to excuse himself. And Rebecca says something to Daryl because she thinks that when he says maybe somebody feels left out, that she's talking about Paula. And she looks over at Paula and is like, yeah, maybe she does, and is reading into Paula's face. Look at how sad she is. She feels totally left out. What am I doing? I've completely broken her heart. I'm a complete monster after everything she's done for me. So this is why I feel like Rebecca doesn't know how to give real well, just as Paula doesn't know how to take real well. So Rebecca's solution to this is all wrong, because she doesn't understand that when it comes to like giving as a friend, all Paula wants is some time together. She doesn't want a big deal. She doesn't need there to be an event. She doesn't require some sort of like, girl gang. She doesn't need inclusion in a different thing. She just wants to know that she is also still Rebecca's friend. She doesn't have to be part of the girl squad when those other girls in the girl squad are all 10 years younger than her, minimum. I just understand very much where Rebecca is coming from right here at this point. It's a shame that she doesn't pick up the signals a little bit later and goes on with the whole deal. But I really understand at this moment why she thinks Paula being included in the group would be the thing that would make Paula feel better, because she doesn't. Let's be honest. The friendship that Rebecca has with Valencia and Heather, as of right now, is pretty shallow. That is not to say it's not real, and that's not to say that they won't withstand the trials and tribulations of everyday life and friendship and what that looks like. But what they're doing right now is just hanging out, having fun, drinking, and taking selfies. There's not a lot of substance to the way they're supporting one another yet. What Paula wants is much more what I look for in a friendship, which is I want somebody that I can like text in the middle of the night and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. I want somebody that I can like have a really bad day and be like, can I call you and just rant at you for like a straight 30 minutes? And I think that Rebecca is misunderstanding the kind of friendship Paula's looking for, because Rebecca has managed to find 2 other women who have had trouble developing female friendships. And so for them, this first step is extremely significant, and it is enough for right now. But for Paula, it's not enough. Paula is a grown-ass woman in a way the other 2 girls aren't quite. And I call them girls even though they are grown women because they feel like it, you know? I mean, Heather was living with her parents up until just a couple episodes ago. Rebecca choosing this method to solve things is because she isn't talking enough to Paula about what Paula needs, and because Paula isn't being honest with Rebecca about what she needs. So both of them are at fault here with their communication. So this is when she's like talking about a way to get Paula involved, that her incredibly creepy coworker comes up to her and suggests this friend, I think she says her name is Angelique, who does a sex toy party thing, that maybe they should do that. And Rebecca decides to go for this method of female togetherness. It backfires so incredibly much. So we have this scene where Paula is talking to Sunil about what's going on, and Sunil calls Rebecca needy. And you can see Paula sort of just get irritated in this way that's like, he keeps talking about this and she doesn't want to talk about it anymore. And he says she's MIA and now snaps her fingers and you just come running. And she says that Rebecca's making time for her and she wants to, appreciate that. And this kind of winds up being a part of like the issue when she's at Rebecca's house, is that the tort test is something that is extremely important. I have no idea what that is, but she is supposed to be studying for it. And taking this time out to be with Rebecca is like kind of an indulgence. And she is worried about maybe not having the kind of time that she maybe shouldn't be spending her time this way, but she thinks it's worth it because she loves Rebecca. I enjoy this tour of Rebecca's her new apartment. Guys, I don't know how many of your friends or if you have moved into a place like this. I personally, when I was in Philly, we moved into a house that was like redone, brand new inside, and it turned out they had done the most shitty job. And it was like, I mean, the house was affordable, and that's part of why, I'm sure, but they clearly had just kind of like, there wasn't even proper flooring. They had laid carpet over the subfloor. So it was just really, really bad. We didn't know that until we started to pull carpet up in a couple places and found out, and we were like, what? Are you serious? Because it looks beautiful on the outside. I do really like that Rebecca still has this like palm tree motif on one wall that she had in her old apartment, which I assume is them reusing a wall from the old set. There's just a lot about this that feels like they just took parts and like reused them. But I'm curious about the actual like what's the word? The practicalities of that. Motherfucker. Sorry for that abrupt motherfucker. That was due to the fact that everybody in the chat disappeared because my internet went down. So I am concluding this episode on a separate day because I spent the hours remaining after this went down while recording trying to fix the problem and could not, and then was very upset. So I decided to leave it and return to it in good time. My apologies to everybody for the choppiness of this recording. I am sorry, but I've moved my spoil me's to the evening from now on, and hopefully that will take care of the issue. So I want to talk about, just in general, the awfulness of, and forgive me guys, I may repeat myself because I recorded the beginning of this a couple days ago. So there may be some things that I forget I already said. But I really feel for Paula in her moment of being introduced to the other girls. It's not that they're rude. They're not like, oh, we don't want to hang out with her. Nobody is an asshole to her, but she knows that they were not informed. And the only way to take that is that Rebecca thought if they knew, they wouldn't want to come, right? Like that's just sort of the subtext there. And even if that isn't what she was thinking, that's how I would take it. I don't know. I would feel like it was sprung on everybody because she knew we weren't going to be excited. So this is the thing about this episode that's sort of like the question remaining for me. I keep on trying to be like giving Rebecca some credit because I do think that she feels bad, like she has abandoned Paula and she's trying to make it up to her. But at the same time, the way that she decides to handle this is so, it feels like she is confident everybody isn't going to like the plan. So she has to hide it from literally everyone until the last second what's actually going on, which to me is an indication that she knows this is not a good idea. But at the same time, Rebecca is like a steamroller. And even if she knows that other people are going to think it's not a good idea, she may still really believe it is and just be like, well, they don't get it. They don't know. They're not going to give it a chance. And I will put them in a position where they have to give it a chance, which is pretty much the remainder of the hangout is Rebecca begging Paula over and over again to stay. And the worst part for me, and it's kind of treated as like a side joke, but the whole thing with the girl gang t-shirts and Paula doesn't have one and so we have to draw it on. Have any of y'all been in this position? Because as a girl who is heavy, or as a girl who always was fuller in the hips and butt than other girls my age, I have often been in the position of being the sole person who cannot fit in a uniform, or for whom something doesn't fit quite right. Like I can get it on over my body, but it doesn't really work. And I have even been in the position of there not being enough of something and I have to take a weird sort of janky version of a shirt or whatever because they're out of the actual official thing. And nothing makes you feel like an afterthought more than that. And the fact, again, that Rebecca didn't let them know, it just rankles. And it's an extra insult on top of everything, you know? Meanwhile, as this whole thing is going on at Rebecca's house, we cut to fucking Trent, who is singing the sexy getting ready song for him. And it is amazing. And I am really... It's the Trent is getting ready song for him. The fucking steam behind him and the way he's rubbing his body up against the door jamb of the bathroom. Oh my God, it's amazing. He goes to shave his back, which his back doesn't need it, but I guess that's a thing that guys do. I have known men who do that. Owen has considered doing that, and there's nothing worse than shaving stubble on a dude's shoulders. And I'm just going to briefly sum up what's going on with Trent in this scene, because I don't really, it's so awkward. Trent has paid the cover for everybody to come to this place that I literally never remember the name. Home base. Fuck, this is why I need the chat, guys. But he greets them all by name and then has to cover for why he knows their names. Well, you're a white person who looks like Josh, so I called you White Josh, and obviously I called you Hector because I'm racist. Oh, God. So he's trying to act so normal, but the whole thing is just the worst. And the guys are going with it because they want free food and free booze. but they can't get past how strange this fucking guy is. And they wind up going home, which, I mean, good. Yes, there are certain people for whom free booze and food is not enough. So, okay, let's go to, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Rebecca's trying to convince Paula to stay, give it a chance. You know, give it an hour. If you don't have fun, you can leave. She's making the whole, like, fancy drinks with umbrellas in it kind of thing. And it's just so hard because when you have a group of people this small and one person is not into it, it's so noticeable. Even if there were 2 more people, you might be able to get away with one person being miserable and not having a good time. But with only 4, you can't do it. It doesn't work. So they try and take a selfie. She doesn't quite fit in the selfie. She doesn't know how to do the angles on the selfie, the whole thing. And every single bit of the evening that is supposed to include all of them, it doesn't really, like, she doesn't have the same priorities. And she is not the same age group as them. And I just feel like that is something that is increasingly going to become a problem. It's, you know, the guy that she is hanging out with now, whose name I am forgetting, from school, he has kids. He is an older, and he's not even that much older, but he's just in a different phase of life is really the thing. Even if the age weren't, even if you weren't closer in actual age, the life he is living is much more similar to Paula's than Rebecca's is. And there comes a point where you just can't help but relate more to somebody who, if they have kids and you have kids, that's going to be a big bonding issue, you know? And I want so much, because I know that Paula and Rebecca do care about each other. I want them to move past, like, the age thing, but they really do not seem to have a whole lot in common once you get past the whole issue with, you know, her living vicariously through Rebecca and the whole thing with Rebecca's love affair and whatnot. So I don't know what this is going to mean for them, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So Rebecca goes and answers the door because the woman who is supposed to be doing the sex toy, like, demonstration. I hesitate to call it that because that makes it sound like she's, like, using a sex toy in front of them. But it turns out that it is Karen, and she is using, like, this persona named Angelique to sell sex toys. And it doesn't really, I would imagine, Heather, like, you know, reads people pretty well. So she can see that something weird is going on. I think Valencia is more like, well, I guess let's see what happens. But of course, Rebecca and Paula both know who this woman really is. And it's so awful. It's so awkward. Why would you do this, lady? Oh, makes me so deeply uncomfortable. So we have a series of just, like, real weird sex toys that are not appealing, and just the kind of thing, like, fucking rom-coms think are funny. There's always a thing in like, dirtier rom-coms. I think the one that I'm thinking of is something about, like, oh god, it has that guy who was, like, known for fucking everybody, and I can't remember his name, and Katherine Heigl. But they do one of those, like, remote vibrator things, and she's, like, having an orgasm in the middle of, like, a meeting. And it's the sort of thing that, like, I mean, you know, I'm definitely not kink shaming. People like what they like, but I just don't see the appeal of having an orgasm and, like, doing that in front of people and not being able to let loose and actually enjoy it. That you, like, are having an orgasm, but you have to hide it and pretend it's not happening. And she calls it clap your monkey. You clapped your monkey in the middle of a business meeting. My badass hubby just made me kabuki in my pantsuit. Oh my God. This is just the worst thing I've ever heard. Paula is texting during this whole thing, and she tells Rebecca that she's texting Scott about the kids. And we find out a little bit later what it actually is that she's texting about. It's awful. The whole thing is really one of the worst things to watch in this series so far. Paula gets up to go to the bathroom because she just wants to get away from this, which is understandable. And she gets locked in the bathroom. The lock is jammed because this place is made like shit. And Rebecca, trying to help her, kicks in the door, thinking that this is going to be an easy thing that we can... She does this and the entire ceiling collapses. And you can see Rebecca feeling really awful in this moment and just being like, oh my God, what have I just done? The night was already not going well. This is the nail in the coffin. And then we get the stuck in the bathroom. Now, guys, I have never heard the song Stuck in the Closet. I did not know what this was supposed to be a parody of. Owen had to explain it to me. What on earth was he thinking with this song? You know what Owen did? I was like, because he was like, oh my God, it's stuck in the bathroom. And I was like, oh, that's like a spoken word song? And he was like, yeah, you've never heard it? And I was like, no, should I play it? And he was like, no, hold on. And then he proceeded to play the Weird Al Yankovic version, Stuck in the Drive-Thru, in which he describes trying to figure out what to eat that night with his wife or girlfriend. And then they go to the drive-thru and it takes way too long. And he doesn't have the right money on him. He forgot his wallet and they don't take credit cards. It's like fucking 6 minutes long. And I never still have heard the original. So I'm glad I was watching this with Owen so that he could explain it to me, because I was really puzzled. And the whole, this leads to Rebecca trying to help by going to get Paula's phone and sending a text in order to get the police here, I think they're trying to do, or the fire department. I'm not even sure what it was that they were initially trying to do. Oh, I don't have his number. I'll text him from your phone. That's right. That's why she's doing. Oh my God, there's the Snickers in that medicine cabinet. If you get hungry, it's my bath Snickers. So she goes to grab Paula's phone, and this turns out to be her texting her new friend what a horrible thing this evening has turned out to be. Oh, God. Guys. Her acting in this scene is really good. She does angry hurt really, really well. Sunil, that's his name. Thank you, show. Help, I'm having the worst night of my life. End quote. And Paula says, you're violating my privacy. Put the phone down. And she stops her and says, there's more. This is where it gets really funny. She says for him to come rescue her and make up some story to get me the hell out of here, which he comes with the worst story I've ever heard. It doesn't even make any sense. He is not prepared to do this kind of job. He needs practice in being the rescuing friend. And she says, bitchy texts you used to send to me. I was agonizing over the fact that you thought I had replaced you. And it turns out I'm the one who's been replaced. I was doing this to try and give you an in with my new group of friends. And I thought that this would be like lead to something, and you never even gave it a chance. I was trying. And it leads to the basically both of them are kind of right argument, in which Rebecca is saying that she made an attempt to find out what was going on with Paula. Paula saying you didn't actually mean it. And all of this, like I've said, you can see each of their points. I personally do side with Rebecca here because I don't really know what it is that would have convinced Paula Rebecca meant it. That's my main issue. She says you didn't mean it. Now, why does she feel that way? That's always what I'm going to ask. She's still stuck in the bathroom. It doesn't I feel like she could, I don't totally buy the fact that she's really stuck in there the way that they all seem to be treating it like it's a given that she won't be able to get out. But Rebecca yells at her, "You have been rude to me and everyone here this whole night, and it really makes me angry because I did all this for you." And Paula, wearing the shirt that she didn't even plan to give her that has fucking Sharpie across the front, rightfully is like, no, you just wanted to make yourself feel better about abandoning our friendship. You moved on from us as friends, which is fine, but just admit it, that's what happened. And I hate this. I hate the actual, I hate the actual fight. And I hate that it's happening in front of a bunch of people. There's this, and she keeps on throwing insults about being, in the theater at Sunil and talking about how he's, Fiddler on the Roof. Oh, my God. Why is he always talking about his theater major? I know many theater majors, they don't bring it up. They just are. That's a joke, because that's not true at all. Ever in the history of theater majors. And I really enjoyed that joke. I just so guys, I just want so much for them to sit down and have a real conversation about this that isn't in the midst of them both being angry, that isn't in front of other friends, that isn't anytime that you try and have a talk about the status of your relationship in the midst of either a crisis or just an emotionally heated moment, it's not going to go super well. I can't believe Rebecca even brings up, I spent hours on that letter of recommendation for you. What are you doing even mentioning that when you didn't get it to her on time? What are you even, you're proving her point for you. What are you saying? Why would you even mention it? And Paula says, I give, you take, that's how it works. And honestly, that she is right about. But some of that, like I've said, I think is her fault a little bit. So then she just throws it in Rebecca's face. You think I had the flu. I had an abortion. And her acting in this moment when she says that, and her anger, but also she's getting upset. She's getting emotional talking about it, but she's fucking pissed too. And then Sunil says something about it, and Rebecca realizes that he knows that she had this abortion, even though they've only been friends for like a week. And she can't believe that Paula would tell him first. But Paula says, he listens to me. I don't know what to tell you. He has given me the opportunity to talk about what's going on with myself. Every time we hung out, that was never possible. And, you know, like, she's not wrong about that entirely. Like, she was given a chance to bring, you know, I'm just going in circles saying the same things. I was sitting there on the edge of the bed. I asked point blank if anything was wrong. You didn't really mean it. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. This is the problem. You never give me the chance. You never give me the chance. And she says, you never ask for my support. And Paula yells, I shouldn't have to ask. Now, look, I get that. I really, really get that. I am personally much more I don't like asking for help. I don't like I don't like depending on people. And feeling like I have to ask in the first place is shitty. I want somebody to be aware that their role in my life is that they are supposed to have my back. And when I have to constantly ask for that, when I thought they understood how important that was, it doesn't feel the same once they then begin to support you. It feels like they feel guilty and they're acting out of guilt, and you don't actually matter. They are just doing what they need to do to make themselves feel better or to keep you from being mad at them, either one. And it doesn't feel like it's coming from a place of actually genuinely being concerned about you. But also, everything I've been saying, Paula was asked point blank, and her saying it, you didn't mean it, doesn't actually hold a ton of water with me. Then who should come in but fucking Daryl, because he has decided to crash girl group night. And him and the new girl whose name I have forgotten are doing like a full dance that they have choreographed. And I love that Valencia is taping the whole thing, and it winds up becoming like a viral thing that people then ask to learn and they're teaching later. I was so glad that this girl wound up standing up for herself, and that, because like there is a huge amount of comedy to be gained from that trope of like the one person in the office that literally everybody dunks on, including the person who usually gets dunked on. And I understand that one, that being like a trope, and it is funny depending, you know, like, but the dynamic of power there was already so messed up that it didn't ring the same way. It felt terrible. So I was glad that the show kind of called it out and had Daryl examine why he is behaving this way. And I forgot to mention that Trent also shows up, that he is supposed to, like, you know, he's the one that's like rescuing Rebecca, but it turns out that he can get Paula out of the bathroom, which, you know, he's got his uses, as we see a little bit later. Rebecca feels sad, and she asks him if he wants to come to bed, because she just wants some company, and maybe, you know, maybe he could make her feel better. And he is down to do that, and then later on says, thank you for taking my virginity. And she kind of is like unwilling to accept that that is actually true. She doesn't want to hear that. I can't decide whether or not I'm supposed to like take that as truth. I think I am. It's super creepy that he's like waited for her. Either way, I hate it all. Oh, and I love the fact that this house turns out to be a house where a bunch of drug dealers were murdered, and everybody keeps on accidentally starting to bring it up and then changing the topic just as they get to the like sentence that will spill it. So guys, I don't really know. I don't know. The next episode is a live watch, and I really can't imagine what happens here. We go to the office the next day and Rebecca walks by Paula and doesn't say anything to her. And it's not like she's like doing the cold shoulder, I'm ignoring you thing. Exactly. She opens her mouth like she's gonna say something, and then she doesn't really know what to say, and she keeps walking, and then she turns around like maybe she will say something after all, but then she's like gets too upset and goes back into her off. And it's like, I liked the way this moment played, because it could easily have just been, I'm still mad at you, I'm not even gonna look at you, I'm gonna pretend you don't exist. But instead it's this desperate, sad, like, I want to talk to you so bad. I just don't know what to say. And I don't know if you would want me to talk to you. And what could make this better at this point, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I just got fucked up by this episode. That's all I'm saying. There's a moment at the end where it turns out that Trent is a really good lover. You're so patient. Thank you. And this is when he thanks her for taking his virginity. But then he's like, maybe we can do it again. And she's like, okay. And he starts to like get on top of her. And she says, nope, you got to pay the toll first, buddy. And shoves his head under the blankets as he says, this is my favorite. And that shit cracked me up. I just really enjoy seeing a woman pushing a dude's head down during sex. It's just so not a thing you often see. And I appreciate this show deeply for it. So yeah, that's, guys, I'm real nervous about the next episode. I really am. I'm not trying to be cute. I don't know where we go now. I really don't. So I've said I want them to be friends just because I hate seeing them fight, and they work together, and that's super awkward too. But also, I understand why they have grown apart, and sometimes that happens, and that's okay. Ugh. Anyway, I apologize again, everyone, for this being such a weird, choppy episode. Thank you all so much for bearing with me with all of these weird incidents that I've been having. You guys are great. And thank you again to Megan, I believe it was, who commissioned this episode. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Everybody, please just love me. All right. I'll see you soon. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.